All right, guys. So today's guest is Linda. Linda's cooking skills were so bad that her own family banned her from cooking when she was a teen. Woo! Happily, her skills have dramatically improved. She now has over 1,000 cookbooks. Wow. Is a graduate of, what's the name again of this cooking
Ruby.
school? Rouxbe Cooking School and the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, and has countless cooking courses from the International Culinary Center and Natural Gourmet Institute under her belt. She's a kitchen confidence coach and owner of Balaboosta's Secret, where she teaches busy moms how meal plan, prep, and cook with speed, ease, yum, and lots of fun. So you guys got to hook up with her for some one-on-one or group virtual coaching. Your inner dinner demons will thank you. All right, we're about to dive in here.
Have you ever looked at your current reality and wondered if this was it? Maybe you started a business for freedom and realized now that you feel trapped behind your computer screen with no end in sight. Maybe you're wondering how to find work-life flow, worried you'll never truly experience time freedom. If so, you are not alone. I'm bringing other successful entrepreneurs onto the show to share their experience of taking back control of their lives. Join me on my journey as we build a business that doesn't hold us back and a lifestyle we don't need an escape from. My name is Jamie Kullman, and this is Mom's Freedom Maker Podcast.
Okay, so we have to start with this because your business name is so fun to say. What does balabusta mean?
So a balabusta is an old-fashioned Yiddish term, and literally translated, it means a woman who makes a fine home. But I don't mean a fine home like Martha Stewart. Everything's got to be lined up perfectly. Get your feet off the damn couch and don't put fingerprints on the refrigerator. That is not my fine home by any stretch of the imagination. My fine home is a warm and welcoming place where you want your friends, your family, and most importantly, your kids' friends to feel comfortable and welcome. Because when your kids' friends are at your house, you have a much better handle of what's going on. So you want to make that fine home of welcome, put your feet up, enjoy the company, enjoy the food. Let's share some great conversation, some laughter, and that's what life should all be about.
I love that. You can just tell so much thought went into this name. So thank you so much for sharing that. And I want to hear a bit of your story. So bad cook turned culinary chef, basically? Like, explain that for
Terrible cook. I mean, terrible. When I was in high school, I had, well, she's still my mother, but I had the most boring cook of a mother you could possibly imagine. And I'm not one to hold my words quiet. And I said, Mom, I hope I can say this, your cooking sucks. So don't say that. Sorry. Okay, your cooking really stinks. So
I love it. I love it.
So she said, okay, smart Alec, you're going to show me what you can do. And she went out and she bought me a book called The Joy of Cooking. And back then it was this huge, huge cookbook, no pictures, lots of words. I had no guidance. And she said, once a week, you're going to pick out a recipe. Tell me what the ingredients are that I need to buy. I'll get them. You cook. Well, it sounds like a great plan, but the execution left a lot to be desired. So I was under a lot of pressure because I had to cook something different, something that wasn't the ordinary blah stuff that my mom was cooking. So the first thing I cooked was Swedish meatballs. Now, does it look like I have any clue on how to cook Swedish meatballs? I have never had them. I had no idea what to expect, and they came out putrid. I mean, just awful. But people say, okay, first time out, you need a little experience. So the second time I had to cook, I cooked veal cordon bleu like my shirt. What did I know? I didn't speak French. I had no idea what this dish was. Also terrible. By the third time I cooked, my family said, you're done. Don't ever cook for us again. I'm not one to be defeated. And I took it with a sense of humor, and I took it as game on. And I started to teach myself cooking. And I took cooking classes, and I've been a lawyer in between being a kitchen confidence coach And throughout all my studies, I always was involved in learning how to cook, either self-taught or taking classes wherever I could. And now I'm the go-to place to come for really the delicious food. And the trick is to know how to do it quickly, easily, and make it look effortlessly while it's being delicious.
Mm. Speaking of moms who could learn a thing or two in the kitchen, my mom is someone who will burn mac and cheese. So I feel like I should connect you guys. It's true though, and I feel like so often people let that hold them back. So family telling you, okay, don't ever cook again. Come on, save yourself and save us in our stomachs, right? But I love how you decided, like, no, that is not for me. I know that inside of me there is somebody who knows how to do this and tackle kitchen projects. So you mentioned that it's doing it with ease and it's doing it quickly. So explain a little bit more of that. So what do you work with your clients to achieve?
Sure. You know, I have clients that are from all different levels of skill ability. Some people are really good cooks, but they want to take their cooking to the next level. Or they're really good cooks at what they know how to cook, but they lack variety.
Mm.
And then there's some people who burn their macaroni and cheese when they cook. So I can take you at whatever level you are, and we go through things starting with the basics. And every program I do on a one-on-one is geared to what you need. Your family's dietary requirements. Are you keto? Are you vegan? Is there diabetes? Do you eat anything? I can tailor what we do to what your family needs are. So that's number one. And we start with the basics. If you have a well-stocked pantry, refrigerator, and freezer, and you know what to do with those ingredients, you can cook on the fly very quickly. The trick is knowing what to have as your staple ingredients and knowing how to use them. And I can teach a variety of cuisines just to put some yum in your fun. And I can also teach you a whole bunch of different flavor combinations and spices. So I work with my clients wherever they are and whatever their needs are. And the trick is, don't be intimidated by cooking. It's not rocket science. You just have to know what you're doing. And don't be afraid of failure. Nobody ever came up with anything super fantastic without failing on the way to get there. And the trick is, what do you do with that failure? So I tell moms who are so afraid of their picky eaters or their critical spouses, don't be afraid. Make it into a game. And a way you can make it into a game is so many things to do. You can say, every time I make something new, I say, is this a thumbs up or a thumbs down? Now, most people can do a response to that, but I don't let it go at that, because if somebody just said, oh, this is really terrible, thumbs down, don't ever make it again, I wouldn't learn anything. And my family isn't helping me with those comments. So I will have my family say things like, what could I do next time to make it better? So I'm already planting the seed that you're going to see this again, because I'm going to get better at it and you're going to like it at some point. But so that's like a little trick that you can do so you don't get dissuaded and that you can learn on how to get better. Involve everybody in your family.
Yeah, that's a great tip, great advice. And what are some quick hacks that the people listening or watching this later can use on a weeknight that say it's just busy, they've been running around all day, they want to get dinner on the table, but they got to do it quick? What are some tips that you'd give them?
So there's a couple of things you can do. One thing I like to recommend to my clients is batch cooking. And what that means is make a bunch of a particular either dish or ingredient and repurpose it throughout the week. So you're not always cooking from scratch every single night. And a great example of this would be, let's say I was making rice as a side dish. I would make a double batch of rice. One night, use it the way it is. Another night, you can make it as fried rice. Another night, you can stuff it into peppers with meat if you eat meat. There's so many things you can do without having to make the damn rice every night. Another thing that I like to do is a real quick recipe that my family loves are spicy Asian turkey meatballs. And you can make it with pork, you can make it with beef, you can make it with ground chicken, probably with tofu if you had enough binder in there to make it stick together. So I make those, I bake them in the oven. They take 15 minutes to bake, really, really quick. So one night I'll serve it with rice noodles, which are rice vermicelli noodles. And if you don't know how to make those, you pour boiling water on it, they're done. I mean, I'm talking quick noodles. And I put a peanut sauce on it, which is simple to make. peanut butter. I like to put a little orange juice in there, fresh ginger, garlic, warm it up. Boom, you got a peanut sauce. So Asian spicy meatballs with pad thai noodle. Next night, I could take those same meatballs if I'm lucky enough to have any leftovers, which usually I don't, no matter how much I make. But I would take those meatballs and maybe I'd crumble them and I'd add a little Houston sauce to it and serve them in lettuce cups with bok choy. So my main dish was done the night before. I'm just reheating it with a different seasoning that's complementary to what I used already. I'm giving my family a totally different meal so they're not feeling like they're eating the same thing night after night. And I have cut my cooking time down tremendously.
That's incredible. And that's what I feel like the trap that I fall into is this. I will make like a huge pot of chili and then we're having chili every night.
Too much chili.
And then by the end of it, I'm like, oh, I don't want chili anymore. So then I just like freeze some and then guess what we're having next week?
Yeah.
Chili.
So freezing is really a good thing, but you don't have it. You can wait a little while before you bring it out again. And just make sure when you're freezing it, you put a label on what it is and the date. Because for instance, I make soup in really big batches because I love having soup during the winter for a dinner, really hearty soups. But seafood soup looks very much like a tomato sauce when it's frozen. And you don't want to defrost your tomato soup and say, oh, we're having seafood soup for tonight. And no, it's just tomato sauce. So make sure you label everything and date it. And you don't have to use it the next week. I mean, the beauty of freezing it is it will stay for a while. So if you build up your freezer stock of a variety of different things, it'll be easier to defrost something on a really crazy night.
Yeah, that makes sense. No, that's a great tip for sure. And so I'm a vegetarian. I've been for, oh my gosh, like 5 years now. And so I feel like as a vegetarian, we kind of like eat more. So what would you recommend like for snacking throughout the day?
Okay, so I eat fish, but I don't eat meat. My family eats meat. So I'm cooking for multiple food preferences when I cook my meals. But for snacks, do you have access to a dehydrator or an oven that can go on a really low temperature?
Yes.
Okay, so I make banana chips, I make kale chips, and the banana chips I put like an apple pie seasoning on it. So you can make them either into firm chips or soft chips. Totally delicious, great to snack on. Make a fresh hummus. And it doesn't have to be a plain hummus. You can make a garlic hummus. You can make a beet hummus. You can do so many things. It's a great dip and have a really interesting crudité. It doesn't always have to be celery. It could be chopped jicama. It could be interesting watermelon radishes, which are this cool pink, white, and gorgeous looking radish when you slice it open. It's like a circus on your plate. So you can change the vegetables you use in a crudité. Hummus is a really quick, easy thing. I make soups, like I say, and I use them for lunch and really fill up, so you don't really feel like you need to snack. But I'll make a miso soup with a variety of seaweeds or black mushrooms, enoki mushrooms, a little bit of fresh ginger. Put your tofu chunks in that, and it's delicious. And that will last you. You can even have it for breakfast if you wanted a really interesting breakfast. I also take things like a broccoli slaw. You can buy them at Trader Joe's. And you could put a chipotle mayo in it to make a slaw. You could put Asian seasonings in it to make an Asian slaw. You can make it an apple cider vinegar kind of slaw. And I don't know if you eat eggs, but you could put a poached egg on it. Great meal, takes no time because all your vegetables are already cut. And you're either just, if you like to use microwaves, you can microwave it for a minute and you're set.
Yeah, I love how all of these that you're talking about are simple and straightforward, because I feel like that's something that holds a lot of people back from cooking. Like my mom, for example, she sees a list or even like a recipe and she is like a deer in the headlights. She's like, okay, that was a fun idea. Closes the book. She's like, I'm not doing that. So I love how these are simple and straightforward. And I know there's always going to be a recipe and items you've got to get and stuff, but it sounds like these are pretty straightforward. So
here's the thing, when you see once you get to know your seasonings and your spices, if you want a time saver, instead of going into your pantry and taking out the garlic and the cumin and all the other things you need for your taco seasoning, whatever you want to do, you can make your own blends. And you can put them in whatever kind of spice jar you have or whatever plastic, or PB-free container. and make your blends. So when you're cooking, you're not saying, where the heck is that garlic? And you're taking out all your spices to find the garlic that you need. You already either have it in a box that's labeled Mexican seasonings or Italian seasonings, or you have it in a blend you've already made for Italian seasonings, taco seasonings, fajita seasonings, whatever it is you want. And so you're just taking out that one thing. Now your ingredients may say 5, 6 spices. You're just taking out that one blend you made. So it's not so intimidating. And that's part of learning what spices go together and how you can make those blends. And again, it's a time saver when you're looking for it.
Great advice. Thank you so much. And to people listening to this right now, we're hearing a lot of recipes and meal ideas. Do you have anything to share where we could find some recipes?
Sure. I have a website, balaboostasecret.com. I have a Facebook group, Easy Weeknight Dinners for Busy Moms. I have a Facebook page, Balaboosta's Secret, and an Instagram account, balaboostas.secret. So I share recipes in multiple places. I'm open to suggestions. Write me something in the comments, write them down below here or in my Facebook group, and I try to maybe even do a video on something that you're requesting. So I'm constantly posting things on my website. Sign up for my newsletter. You'll get notices when those go up. But there's a lot of places you can find me with recipes.
Awesome. And you guys, if you're listening and you're like, how the heck do I spell balaboosta? Here we go. BALABOOSTA. So there you go. And so all of this right now, a lot of the conversation has been stemmed around family dinner time. So why do you feel like you're so passionate about this family gathering time?
Well, sitting down to a family meal has been proven to be really beneficial for children's development. The studies actually show that when you sit down for a family meal, your child does better in school, has better communication skills, is less likely to get involved in substance abuse, and has better social skills. And that's a whole lot of benefit for sitting down and enjoying a meal. And I believe part of the reason why I'm passionate about it is it's your time to decompress with your family, and we're running around all over the place. We have no idea what's going on in each other's lives other than where we're driving them to at any given moment. And one of the crimes I see is when you sit down at the dinner table and you're so exhausted and you're so thankful you figured out what to make for dinner and got it on the table, and all you have the energy for is to say to your kids, what happened in school today? And they say, nothing. What did you do today? Nothing. And you're thinking to yourself, you've been there for 8 hours today. Something must have happened. It's not a good way to have conversation. So what I do when I work with parents also is I teach them fun ways to have clever conversation with your kids. So they want to come to the table. They want to spend time with you, and conversation flows. So my kids have grown up with me playing games at the table all the time. And when they were very little, their friends would come over for a sleepover and have a meal, and we'd play these games, and I'd serve my food, and they would say things like, we don't play games at the table. We never talk. And my mom doesn't cook like this. Can you help her? And that was one of the reasons why I started seeing the need for doing something like this. And to tie it all up is I have a son now who's in college, and he brought his girlfriend home for the first time to meet us. And she was spending the night for dinner. And I said to her, did Max tell you that we play games at the dinner table? And, you might think, oh, my son's going to groan. This is like so mortifying. And she goes, yes, he did. And I said, and did he say that we're going to expect you to play? And he said, yeah. And we played games at the dinner table, and it was a great icebreaker for her to get to know us. So you're not just sitting there, what are you studying in school? What do you hope to do? All those ridiculous questions, which are meaningful. I don't mean to make light of them, but if you're trying to get to know somebody, that's not the best way to make them feel comfortable. So I work with moms on how to do that as well.
I love that so much. I feel you on those dinner conversations. And I feel like a lot of times you're wanting dinner to be over because of the awkward sometimes conversation. And so I love the idea of incorporating games. I mean, I know my family a lot of the times has played them after dinner, but I love the idea of even like maybe even between courses or before dinner. That's really cool. I love that idea so much. And I feel like so many are going to implement this into their life. So what happens if somebody... Like, let's go back to my mom. We've been talking about.
Okay.
So, Mom, I love you. If you're listening to this, much love is going out to you and your macaroni and cheese. So if somebody is used to cooking, let's just say like the same, like this is also me, like the same 5 meals, just on repeat, right? What do you recommend for someone like that?
Okay, that's not so difficult a question. So let's say you'll use a Taco Tuesday, because a lot of people do Taco Tuesdays. And a lot of people just say, okay, I'm making my chopped meat taco, my Taco Tuesday. Well, you can keep a Taco Tuesday, but change your protein. So maybe if you're a vegetarian, maybe you want to do a chickpea kind of spread to put in your tacos and change your with Moroccan spices and a different kind of coleslaw. Or if you are an omnivore, maybe you want to do a shrimp taco or a fish taco or a pulled pork taco. You can keep that kind of concept, that theme for your Tuesdays, but shake up what you do. I mean, you can put a million different things inside a taco shell. So be flexible on what your definition of a taco is. So that's one way to go about changing your routine. If you make chicken one way and only one way, let's change up some of the seasonings on it. You know how to make chicken, but instead of just putting your Italian herbs on it and throwing it in the oven, let's do something different. Maybe we can make it with an Asian seasoning. You still know how to roast the chicken. We're just changing the flavor. So I'm not trying to take you out of your comfort zone. I'm trying to expand your comfort zone.
I love that. Yes. And so is that another way that we could start to turn more ordinary dinners into something that's a little bit more fun, right? Shaking it up a
Absolutely.
little bit.
And you can also, if you don't want to change your themes, you can change the way you cook. Yes, you have chicken, whatever day of the weeks, whatever days you make chicken, but change the method of cooking. If you're always roasting it, maybe you want to pan fry it and add a tikka masala sauce. You can buy one at Trader Joe's. You don't even have to make it from scratch. Just mince up some, and you could do this vegetarian with chickpeas and tofu, and it would be delicious. Just fresh ginger, fresh garlic, fresh onions, saute it, add your tofu, your chickpeas, brown the tofu for a minute, add a simmer sauce, like a tikka masala sauce, let it simmer for 10 minutes. Your dinner's done in 15 minutes. Serve it with a side of rice. Bingo, bango. You've got a great dinner, and you're still serving the tofu you know how to make.
So my question for you now is, what are you doing for dinner? You want to come over? You're invited.
Thanks. I actually think I'm going to make a Moroccan lentil soup.
Ooh, that sounds amazing.
And it'll be done in no time at all.
So a recipe like that, can we find that on your website?
On my website right now, I'm building my library on my website. I believe there's a recipe for an eggplant and lentil soup, which is equally as good. I just don't have any eggplant in my house right now. So you can check that one out. But I'm building my repertoire. The recipes are fairly new, so you got to keep watching it, and they'll be growing. But another thing that's really, really important that I teach my clients is how to substitute. So we talked about your mom who may be intimidated or put off by a long list of ingredients. Another thing that really can throw a kink into your cooking plans is you're ready to cook. You finally picked out what you want to cook, and you're looking at a recipe and you realize you're missing some ingredients. But if you know what you can substitute for what you don't have to make it equally as flavorful, you won't be intimidated anymore. And you won't feel the need to rush to the grocery store every time you're missing something, because you've got a ton of stuff in your pantry that's sitting there that could be used. You just don't know how to use them. So don't be afraid of learning how to substitute ingredients also. It makes your cooking much faster and really much happier.
I love this so much. And so for people listening to this, we've got mamas listening, okay? And they've got kids. How do you put fun and yum into your dinner routine while involving children?
Okay, there's a million ways to do that. I'll give you a real quick example, and this depends on the age of your kids too. So I did this even when my kids were young. There's a different holiday, a ridiculous holiday, not a religious one, just a ridiculous one for almost every day of the year. Turns out April is National Poetry Month. Well, you can imagine how my kids could not care less about it was National Poetry Month. So I said, it's National Poetry Month. Come to the table with a poem. Now, my kids looked at me like I had 4 heads. There's no way I'm coming to the table with a poem. I said, expand your imagination about what a poem could be. It could be a limerick. It could be a TV jingle. It could be a TV show jingle. I'm really trying to get them to think. Obviously, it could be a traditional poem. It could be a rap song. It could be whatever you want a poem to be, because there's beauty in the spoken word. So, they humor me because we've been doing this for a while. So that night, my son came down with a poem he wrote called I Hate Poetry. And it was really very funny. My daughter, I think, came up with a really bawdy limerick that was totally age inappropriate. And my husband wrote a rap song. Now, he doesn't know up from down for rap songs. And it was hysterical. And it made for a memorable meal. For something that started out as the most boring weekday meal with kids kicking and screaming about poetry. And it's something they tell their friends all the time. And now my husband will say when we have company, do you know I wrote a rap song? And we'll go like, please don't sing it. But it makes for fun. So you can do themes with your dinners. You can play games with them. You could do round robin stories. You can, oh my goodness, there's so many ideas. You can do a game like headbands. And again, everything is age appropriate for your kids. So I can break it down that way also. You can tie things into current events. You could take a word really obscure and ask everybody to guess the meaning, and then find out what the meaning is and see how close you were to it. It's a great vocabulary builder, education in the guise of having fun. But there's a million things you can do at the table. You just have to be creative. And just like sometimes when you go to a party or you meet with a friend, and before you meet them, you think to yourself, what am I going to talk about? Because you don't want to just sit there going humana, humana, humana. So it's an exercise that you do with yourself. Well, I'm making dinner. What can I do? So here's another example. It's called Chicken Boy Day. There was a marketing agency in California, and on the top of their building, they had this huge, larger than life statue. The whole bottom was like a human man, and the top was this huge chicken head. Hideous. I mean, you can imagine how stupid this thing was. And it was there for years and years. And at some point, the marketing agency decided to move away. And whoever bought the building said, well, we got to take this hideous chicken boy thing down. And there was such a public outcry from the town. The people rallied, bought the statue, and moved it to put it in a park. And they made Chicken Boy Day an official day in September. So when that day comes around, I suggest to my clients, make a Chicken Boy Day. They'll make chicken for dinner, and I'll give them several ideas of what to cook. And then I'll give them ideas of what kind of conversation you can have at the dinner table. So conversation, you could have things like, if you were half human and half animal, what would your other half be? What could you do as this creature? What is a beloved toy you have now that you want to hold on to and pass on to your kids? You can make a million conversations out of a silly concept of whatever that holiday is. So that's one of the things I do with my clients as well.
I love that so much. And it's fun conversation. It's different than just like, how was your day at school?
And you will learn probably more about your family by what their responses are to fun things than being put on the spot. And another reason why you should have fun conversation is if you do have picky eaters, you're distracting them. So your dinner table conversation isn't like, eat the broccoli, and there's a fight, because that's miserable for everybody. And then they're going to resist. And every time they see it in their plate for dinners to come, they're going to resist. But if you're having fun, you might be surprised how some of that food gets eaten because you're not harping on it.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense. You have shared so much value today. I'm sure everybody listening to this is excited for dinner time. I don't know what time you're listening, but I know you're a little bit more excited than you were when you woke up this morning about dinner tonight. I know I am, and I can't wait to put a recipe together and then repurpose it throughout the rest of the week, because now I'm inspired to do that and be creative with it. And you're also inspired me to break out the board games tonight.
There you go.
I'm going to surprise my fiance with this, and our son's a little too small to play, but if we get this habit in place now, by the time he's old enough, he's going to be glad that we did.
And it's great for people who don't even have kids. It's great when you're tired of, both of you and your spouse are working and you come home and you have nothing to say because you're too tired. I mean, you have plenty to say, but you're too tired to think. So if you have these things, it's easy. You could take your cards from Trivial Pursuit, whatever trivial game you have. You don't need the board, but you've got the questions. So it's a great, inexpensive way to use the games that you're never using anymore and still have a lot of fun. You can do Mad Libs. You can do it with your kids. You can do it with your spouse. easy stuff to bring laughter to your table.
Thank you so much. And is there anything else, like any last takeaway you would like to leave our listeners with today?
It doesn't have to be complex to be delicious and meaningful. So get rid of your fear of failure, get rid of your hesitation. It's food. Have fun. Don't put the pressure on yourself because, truthfully, if you think about it, most of life's special moments center around food, whether it's weddings, whether it's birthdays, whether it's holidays, it's food. So make it fun, fill it with yum, and make those memories because memories are what helps make you who you are, and they last a lifetime. And I should mention that I have a PDF for your audience. I think you're going to have it in the show notes, and it's called Quick Dinner Time Sanity Saving Tips. It's got a little bit of everything I spoke about, and if you sign up for it with the link, you'll get on my mailing list, and you will see those recipes that I post on my website. But bottom line, make it fun, fill it with yum, and have fun with it.
This is the perfect episode to be had right before Thanksgiving when everybody's getting together and cooking these fun meals. So I love this. And do you have, I know you've provided so much value. This PDF is going to be found in the show notes, or definitely go ahead and revisit her website. Can you drop your website one more time for anybody who's listening?
Sure. Balaboostasecret.com. BALABOOSTASSECRET.com.
Awesome. Now, you mentioned like 1,000 cookbooks in the beginning. So do you have
Yes.
one book or one cookbook that comes to mind that you'd recommend?
No.
Too many. There's too many.
You know, I should say that, yes, I have over 1,000 cookbooks and I don't follow a recipe. I think that's the goal that I have for my clients. Because if, like I said at the very beginning, if you know what you have, know what you need, know what you're doing, you can use a recipe as a guideline and tailor it to what you like. You know, you could look at a recipe and it could say 3 cloves of garlic. Well, 3 cloves of garlic are never going to be enough in whatever I cook because my family loves garlic. So, okay, it's a guideline, you know, and that's how you should think about recipes when you look at them. Your flavors and your preferences are probably different than the author's. So if you can glean from the recipe, the process, the main ingredients, cooking is flexible. Unlike baking, you have to have precise amounts, precise ingredients, because it all has to work. Baking is science. Cooking is pure fun and creativity. So not one cookbook, it's whatever cuisine I'm interested in finding at any given moment, looking for inspiration. But again, I follow a recipe. I like variety. And today people have the internet and they can find whatever category of food they're looking for, and keep it broad because you never know what you're going to find that might interest you and your family.
Yeah, I think that definitely sparks the creativity, right? It's like, don't just look up the same exact, like vegetarian chili. That's me, right? And I'll get specific there. Thank you. That is so helpful. I'm a little scared though. If I were to not use a recipe, I don't think you'd want to try my food. But
well, you know, you can try it the first time around then. But don't feel that you have to follow it exactly. And, you know, in my world, there's no such thing as 100% authenticity. So if you were to go to Italy, let's say, and you went to Grandma on Block A, and you said, Grandma on Block A, how do I make a marinara sauce? She'll tell you. You go to Grandma on Block B, how do you make a marinara sauce? Her recipe is going to be different. And that just tells you, make it, that's going to be a way that you're going to enjoy it. So yes, recipes are great guides. If you're really unsure of yourself at the beginning, follow the recipe. You know, sometimes recipes are wrong, but follow them. And then you go to that exercise where you say to your spouse, to your kids, how can I make it better? What flavor is it missing? And then you're actually teaching your kids, A, how to cook, B, how to think about the foods that they like. And you want to pass on a skill that they can pass on to their families. If they see parents only making, and I don't mean this as a negative, one dish or getting takeout all the time, they're not learning a skill that they can pass on and make those wonderful moments for their family. So it's really a holistic approach about cooking. It's not just for you and your happiness and your time saving and making wonderful things for your family and feeling the joy that comes with that. It's also passing along that knowledge and that skill. And you often hear people say, oh, I wish I learned how to do that from my grandmother, or I wish I had my grandmother's recipe. Well, you're in a position to teach that to your kids. Take advantage of it. Don't lose that precious time.
I love that so much. Yeah, I mean, one day I'll be a grandmother. I want to have that recipe that wants to be passed down too. That is such a good point. Honestly, it's like allowing yourself to be creative in your recipes and make something your own is huge. It's everything. And now that we're talking about this, I'm realizing more and more that cooking, I feel like a lot of people don't take the time to truly learn how to cook. Do you feel that way?
Oh, absolutely. They either it was not a skill that was passed down to them, or they think they don't have enough time. And really, they have the time, they just don't know how to use it wisely.
Mm.
So, and I hear it all the time. I don't have enough time to cook. I'm so busy. I'm so busy. But you have time to be on Facebook, and you have time to be on Instagram. And there's little ways that you could cut some of that stuff out or shorter to do something that's really pleasurable, delicious, enjoyable, and wonderful. There's ways to use the time.
And healthy for you too, because if
And
you're
healthy, of course.
the one cooking it, you know where the heck the ingredients came from. So yes, yes. Thank you so much. This has been so beneficial, and I look forward to checking out this PDF that you have and connecting with you further on social media. And I'm sure everybody else is excited too. You've encouraged us all to step out and make dinner time fun and yum.
Thank you. And happy holidays to everybody. And if you're cooking, let your guests help. Let them enjoy the process too, because all of a sudden they'll feel like they're literally a part of the party. So give yourself a break, enjoy it. Or if you're going to somebody else's house, offer to help. It's fun. You might learn something new. And again, you should always be a part of your own party.
Love it. Thank you so much with the holidays coming up. Great advice.